So, hello everybody and welcome to this webinar, a very informal webinar, how to use Zoom as a presenter. And I know some of you have recently attended my training course, how to deliver effective virtual training. You'll know it was quite polished, it was well prepared, it had materials in and so on. This is really different. This is going to be chaos. We've got 31 people joining. I'm going to keep you muted for a while so that we don't have any sound problems. And it's more an exploration of how Zoom works rather than how to use it, for example, to deliver training. What else can I tell you? So yeah, it's not a normal Knowledge Bites course. It's just a webinar, and it really is exploring it together. I've been using Zoom for 4 weeks. I've done lots of online training, but I used to use a different platform until about 4 weeks ago. So there might be things that you ask which I don't know. So I'll see if I can get you answers to those as we go through. I did this same webinar on Tuesday and I discovered something slightly irritating on Zoom. You share your entire screen and I thought, great, then people can just see what I'm doing. No, it doesn't work like that. You can see, the other people can see everything on my screen except the Zoom controls. So that was a little chaotic. What I've done for today is I've made a number of screenshots of my screen and put them into PowerPoint. So you'll be able to see in PowerPoint what I've done and when I've done it. So, just to note, this session will be recorded, will be made available online to others. Please leave now if you're not happy with that, or you can mute yourself and turn off your video, then no one will see you taking part. But there were some people who wanted to come but couldn't make the time, so this will be sent out to them. Very quickly, who am I? So I'm a trainer. I've been running Novanta since 2011. And Novanta is a specialist sales training company where we combine the best bits from sales and project management, and we bring them together to help organizations to win more businesses, to close bigger deals, to win business in a more sustainable way. And it helps project managers to consult better with customers as well. And then coincidentally, I had planned a brand new launch this year, which is a new brand for us called Knowledge Bites. Knowledge Bites takes all those bits which people have asked us for over the years, but don't really fit with our sales project management brand. And we've made them available to people through our Knowledge Bite brand, either face-to-face or online. And every single course is available in virtual training format. It's been very good for me. It just happened to coincide with coronavirus. I mean, I had to bring the launch forward about 3 weeks. The website's half built. But in terms of being set up to deliver virtual training, it was convenient. Obviously, I know many of you are not in that position. You are trainers or training companies, and you've got to deliver your products through Zoom, and you're not able to do that yet because you're not ready for it. None of us knew this was coming. I do recommend that course there at the bottom, how to deliver effective virtual training. It's available now, it's on the website. If you want details, send me an email, visit online if you would like information about that. Personally, I've been delivering virtual training since 2011, so none of this is new for me. As I said, Zoom is new for me, but I've been using WebEx, GoToMeeting, Adobe Connect, Join Me, Skype for Business. I've used most of them over the years for one client or another. My choice is Zoom. It's a nice balance between features, price, and ease of use. A key thing about virtual sessions, many people think, well, they shouldn't be as good as face-to-face, probably need to charge a bit less. Not true. Feedback on my virtual courses is as high as face-to-face. We just need to run them differently to give that same experience. And again, that training course at the bottom there will help you to do that. So, learning objectives for today, as I said, it's just an informal webinar, and by the end, you'll be able to do two things. You'll be able to use the key features of Zoom as a presenter, and you'll understand what it's like to be a participant in a Zoom webinar. Just those two things. As I said, really informal as we go through. Give me questions whenever you like. You can save them until the end if you want, but do feel free to ask as we go through as well. I'll give you a go to try out some of these things. I'll put you into breakout rooms so you'll work in small groups on some of the whiteboards and the annotation features. Disclaimer, I've already mentioned it. I've only been using Zoom for 4 weeks, so there will be things I don't know. Having said that, within those 4 weeks, I've used it an awful lot. So yeah, I will be able to hopefully answer most of the questions that you have. Disclaimer number 2, I have a Windows, not a Mac. I'm using a Windows 8.1 laptop. Everything I'm talking about will be applicable to Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, and Windows 10. I have no idea where these things are on a Macintosh. I understand all the controls are there, but you may need to search for them in a different place to where I'm showing them. If you're using a tablet or a phone, then I'm completely clueless. I've hosted one-to-one calls on my phone before, but I've never joined as a participant nor run a webinar, nor would I guess it's a particular easy thing to do. But you know, if you need some help finding things, ask me afterwards. I'll do my best, but I would be guessing if I were to tell you where things were live. I will create a cheat sheet after today's session and I'll email it through. I haven't done it yet because I thought I'd wait and see any questions that come up, but I'll be doing that and I'll email it through to you late Friday or perhaps early Monday morning. So here are key topics today. This is what we're going to look at over the next hour and a quarter. How to schedule a meeting, enabling polling in the settings. Excuse me, got a cough, nothing exotic as far as I know. Enabling polling in the settings, creating a poll, sharing a whiteboard, annotating your slides, sharing a screen, and then I guess the most important one for many of you if you're trainers, creating and managing breakout rooms. Lots of things to share, so let's dive into it straight away. And as I said, I'm not demonstrating many of these things live because you won't be able to see what I'm doing, so I've got lots of screenshots on PowerPoint slides and we'll talk through them and hopefully you'll then be able to open them on your PCs and have a look at the same time. So how to schedule a meeting. I did this I don't know, half an hour ago before the course started. Here's my main Zoom window, and I've got a couple of different options for how I set up a meeting. I can press the new meeting button, the orange one just there, and that's fine. It sets up an instant meeting. What it doesn't allow me to do very easily is to set specific settings for different meetings. The join button is when you're joining someone else's meeting. We're not talking about that today at all. There's the schedule button, and if you click the schedule button, it brings up a window which looks like this, which is your schedule a meeting button. In there, I can just make things look a little bit more professional for my participants. I can put a topic in there. At the moment, it says Neil Shawnee's Zoom meeting, but I might say a departmental meeting or training course on something or whatever it might be. I can set the meeting start time so that it's ready to go when people log in. I can set the duration in 15-minute increments. The meeting ID bit is an interesting one. I can choose to use my personal meeting ID. That's like the same meeting ID for everything. Particularly useful if I'm running team meetings and people need to log into the same place each time. Or I can generate an ID automatically and send it to people each time. And there are pros and cons of both. Using a personal meeting ID, which by the way is what I do, is a lot more simple. It means I've always got that ID ready. If someone says, how do I join your meeting? I can just send them that ID. Problem is, and I discovered this on Tuesday, is that if you happen to be running another meeting on another copy of Zoom and you haven't told people you're using a different one, you may get parents from a reception class joining into your training course halfway through. So the disadvantage with using the same one each time is if people happen to go and log into Zoom and try and join your meeting, that they can get in, even if it's not their meeting, their training course. There is a way around that, and I'm assuming you can all see my mouse, by the way, as I do this. There is a way around that, which is to set a password. And you can set a password for your meeting so that even if people have got the ID, they need your meeting password to be able to gain access. The other option, which I know is what many people do, is to generate a meeting ID automatically. It will be a different link each time you use it, which means there's no danger of someone accidentally logging into your high-level board meeting 2 days after they were on your training course, for example. So two options. My preference is the right-hand one there. I can then choose some settings for how it will be when the meeting begins. So I can choose whether my video is on or off by default. Once I'm in there, I can do what I want, but it just makes sure that if I want it on, it is on. If I'd rather be anonymous until I get there, then it will be off. And I can do the same for the participants. I can allow them, or I can set their initial meeting setting on their video to be either on or off. I prefer on, just because we can see people, we can get more involved, we can see people's backgrounds, and Robert, I do like your beach. Again, I like your beach because it's a moving background. Didn't know you could do that myself, but there you go. So I prefer video. It's more of a human element, so I can set that on for people by default when they first go in. Underneath that, you've got the audio box. I don't really understand why that is here, because you can give people the option to only be able to join via telephone, only be able to join via computer audio, or give them the option to join by either. I see no reason really to put restrictions on how people can join the audio. So I usually give both, which maximizes the chance of people being able to join your meeting. You can then choose to schedule it automatically in your Outlook calendar, your Google Calendar, or it says other calendars. That's a little ICS file that you can then open in your Thunderbird calendar or whatever it might be. This is a screenshot, by the way. This isn't live, so I can't try anything out because I discovered on Tuesday, as I said, that you can't see this if I'm operating live. Let me move to the next slide, which shows you what happens if I had scrolled down on that window. There are a couple more options under advanced options, which are quite helpful. You can allow people to join before you do. And that's up to you whether you do or not. Yeah, we had today a few people who were there 10 minutes early. They were able to come in, have a little chat, break the ice with each other before we get going. That's fine. You may prefer to keep people in a waiting room until the meeting actually starts, so that then it's like a on-time professional beginning to your meeting. No real preference either way, whatever works for you. If you've got a particularly big group, you may choose to mute participants automatically on entry. For the same reason that I like the video kept on, I prefer not to tick that because I want to encourage interaction. But if Zoom can take up to 100 people on the premium account, you can get more if you pay extra. If you've got 400 people joining on some huge webinar, you probably want to get that one ticked. And you can set a setting to automatically record the meeting on your local computer. Saves you forgetting to press it, as I did today, when you get going with it. Then you press the button, schedule, and that then schedules that meeting, puts it in your Zoom calendar, adds it to your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, or whatever it might be, and you can then go and send those invitations out to people. As I said, you can just start, we go back a couple of slides, you can just start a new meeting by pressing that orange new meeting button, but doing these things in advance means that you've got the settings you want for each individual meeting and can give you a more professional start to things. So I'm going to unmute everyone for a second and take any questions you might have on scheduling or setting up meetings. You're all unmuted. Any questions?
Yeah, Neil.
Excuse me. Any questions? Colette.
Hi. When you put people in the waiting room, or they automatically go into the waiting room, and you've on entry if they're early, and you've got the page that says, is it Neil Shawnee's waiting room or something, or whatever it is, can you customize that so that you've got your company logo and any other information? Can you, like on Adobe Connect, you can have slides playing on a constant. Can you do that in Zoom?
You can. I've not got round to doing it yet. The last couple of weeks have been so manic that it's not been top of my priority list, but absolutely you can. You can customize the text. You can put a logo on there. I'm not sure whether you can do that in the free account or not, but I have the bottom level paid account, which is about £120 a year plus VAT. In that one, yes, you can, and it's on my to-do list to do at some point. But nice question, yeah.
Is it fairly straightforward how you do it?
Sorry?
Is it fairly straightforward to do it? Does it guide you through it?
Yeah, it's in the web settings. So it's quite an odd thing about Zoom. Many of the settings are not in Zoom, they're in the web interface. So when you press advanced settings, it opens your browser and opens a web page. You can do everything in there. It's got a hugely comprehensive set of settings you can use. I mean, let's have a quick look now. Let's see if we can find it. Actually, why not? Let's have a play with this stuff. So let's have a look. Settings. Virtual background. Ooh, view advanced features. Okay, so if I press view advanced features, I'm now going to share my screen with you rather than the PowerPoint. And you should then be able to see what I'm doing. There you go. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So when you press advanced settings in the Zoom app, it takes you to this web page. and then you have all these things here, all these settings that you can do. And there are literally pages and pages of them. I mean, you just scroll down forever on some of these settings. Somewhere in here, let me just have a quick Control and F to find waiting room. There you go. So if I've just done Control and F to find waiting room, it's just here under in meeting advanced. You have to set in here whether you want to enable the waiting room or not. I have got mine enabled. And then you have choose which participants to place. All participants or only guests, i.e. those people who haven't received your joining instructions, they're joining from a web browser, that kind of thing. And then just here you've got that button, customize the title, logo and description. I've never pressed this. Let's have a look and see what it does. Oh, I have. I've already put my logo in it. Was my logo in there in the waiting room? Did you see it?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, lovely. I've forgotten I've done it. And then there you go. You can change the text if you want to. You can put your meeting topic if you want to, a waiting room description, and so on. So there you go. I have put a logo, but I've not got around to doing any of the text yet. So for many things, the Zoom settings are on the web page, and they take place then at an account level, which means if I log in on a different PC, those same things are there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Any other questions about scheduling meetings?
Yeah, I've got one, Neil.
Go on.
When you schedule a meeting, it doesn't come up with a screen where you can automatically put in email addresses. You have to do that manually from your own email account, do you?
I can, oh, that's a good question. I'll check that one and get back to you. The way I do it is I copy the invitation. So when I press OK, it's a button to press copy invitation. And then I put that one into an email and send it to people. There is a setting, and I've not played with it yet, David. There is a setting where you can get people to register as they join.
Okay.
Let's say you're doing a big webinar. You might want to stick onto LinkedIn or out to your email address, email mailing list, the login details for your webinar, but not bother to send it to individuals. But then when they join, they have to go and register before they're allowed in. They have to put their name, their email address. And again, that one is in the settings here. It's in there somewhere. I've not played with it, but I have seen.
I'll have a look at that. Yeah, yeah.
Whether there is one where you can put the email addresses in, I'm not sure, I'm afraid.
Okay, all right.
Yet. Christine has raised her hand. Hello.
Hi. Just on answering that question of David's, if I click on the calendar to schedule, then my calendar pops up in a Mac, and then in that invite, it gives me the option to invite addressees, and they're just people in my contacts on the Mac.
Ah, right.
Very simple.
I'll have a play with that one then. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that works really well.
That's the
One
same
more
for
question.
PC too.
Thank you, Christine. That's helpful.
Neil, one more question, if you may. Very quickly, can I just confirm, when you're talking about meetings, you're not talking about webinars, or is this the same? Because there are some differences, and I'm struggling to understand the nuances between all of them and the pros and cons of using one versus the other. So just to understand, all this applies to meetings only, or do you use those terms interchangeably?
Good question. And as I said, I've only been using Zoom a month. I've not played with webinars yet. However, I have run many webinars over the last month, and I always use the meetings one to run the webinars as well. Let's have a quick look. There you go. So Zoom webinars allows you to
have to upgrade for it.
Sorry, you have to upgrade for it, but it allows you up to 10,000 people. Tailored for managing audiences, branding, registration, host controls, polls, Q&A. Looks like it has some more features. Looks like it's an optional upgrade, which presumably has a price tag on it. But I've run webinars on the meeting where you can get up to 100. That's all I've needed so far. And yeah, I just run them as a training course, as a meeting. It does everything I need it to.
Just as another point, Neil, not strictly related to this, I heard on the radio the other day that Zoom have removed the 40-minute limit on the free one whilst the coronavirus is on. And they've also upped the number you can have, and I can't remember the number you can have in any meeting on the free version.
Oh, lovely. That's helpful.
I can't confirm that, but it was on the radio the other day. I heard that.
It's not completely true. They've released the limit kind of temporarily, but as soon as you start using it with any regularity, they put the limit back on again. So it's effectively an introductory offer.
Yeah.
I've been using it for a couple of weeks on the free version. I maybe hosted half a dozen calls, and then it started to put the limit back on me again.
I get you. Yeah.
Might be a marketing gimmick rather
It's
than
not really an offer at all.
Can I ask a question actually on that? I used Zoom yesterday to speak to a client, and it only allowed me a 30-minute window, and I thought it was a 40-minute window, but it only came up with a 30-minute window. Is this something I should be changing in settings?
So as I understood it on the free one, certainly when I used the free one 4 weeks ago to try it out, it was 40-minute limit if you had more than 3 people. Otherwise, there was no limit. But I did see something pop up the other day about bandwidth and about coronavirus and about not putting certain restrictions on. They've cut down the HD video because of that sort of thing. So maybe if you experience that, then be prepared to experience it again. I've not seen anything about it, but it absolutely sounds reasonable based on the messages I saw about bandwidth and that kind of thing.
I did a one-to-one yesterday for 1 hour and 20.
Okay,
And that,
just 2 different participants.
yeah, because I wondered whether the changes and that, but it just went on and on. So
Okay. Quick question for you, Stephen, because last week you shared that background and said it was your garden. Are you in front of your real garden now, or is it still just the background?
no, it's still the background. My wife's still downstairs. She's taken over.
Okay, so I'm
She's
going
got more to do than me.
Sorry.
She's got more to do than me.
I'm going to pop everyone back on mute, and we're going to move on because we've got quite a few things to think about. At the end of this, we'll have another Q&A, general one. So if there's anything you've not had a chance to ask now, do make a note, and we'll do it at the end, and I'll answer if I can. So you're all muted again, but you can unmute yourselves should you wish to. I have no idea where we got to. Let's go back and share my slides again. Oh, yes, polling. Polling is my bugbear with Zoom. I find it unnecessarily complicated. You know, when I've used in the past things like WebEx or Join Me, polling is very easy. You just type in your question and it's done. Polling on Zoom is fiddly. Let me show you how it works. And again, it's on PowerPoint slides rather than live so that you can actually see what I'm doing. The first thing I need to do is enable polling. And I enable polling in the web settings. So I've still got my web settings here. You go into your web browser, just here under settings. Again, it's a huge long list. So I use Control and F for find, and I type in poll, and it takes me straight down.
Neil, could you show us what you're doing by sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's exactly what I should be doing.
Thank you.
There you go. So I'm back in the settings on the web interface, logged into my account. I press Control and F because it takes forever to find things scrolling down. I type in poll, I press enter. It takes you there to polling. It's about 1/3 of the way down. The first thing you need to do is you need to enable it. If you don't enable polling, you won't be able to find it and you'll wonder where your polling is. It seems an odd thing to force you to enable, but that's the way it is. So you need to go to your web settings and make sure this just here is switched on. Once you've done that, you then need to exit Zoom and go back in again, like close it right down and go back in again, then it restarts knowing that polling is there. Then you need to go and create your polls. So let me go back to my slides. We've enabled polling in the settings. We now need to create a poll.
Neil, could I just ask a quick question?
Mm.
You said you had to close everything down to sort of activate that functionality that you've just changed. Is that the case for anything that you decide to enable? You need to close it down and go back in afterwards?
Oh, good question. Other things I don't know. Possibly. I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries. Thanks.
I mean, because basically I did it once, and then once you've done it once, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, like for other functions that you decide you want to enable, would you need, I suppose with that rationale, you might need to close it down and open it so that that gets added to your list of functions that you want to include, maybe?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
once you've done it once and then restarted it, any settings on the web will apply. So if you've enabled something and you can't see it, just try shutting down and reopen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So polls. So once I've done that and I've restarted, you won't see this now, but on my bar at the bottom, there's now a button that says polls. If I click on that, it then takes me back to the website again in order to create those polls. So you should now be able to see my screen. And it says add a poll. So it's taken me back to the web page again. And in here, I can now create my poll. So I can give it a title. I can make it anonymous or not. That's up to me. Just here, I can create a question. What's your favorite, I don't know, drink on a Friday night? And I guess it's whatever you happen to have in the house these days. You can then choose to give people a single choice or a multiple choice. And then you can put your sample answers, as many answers as you want, up to 10. You can then add more questions if you want to. And then you press save, and that poll will then be there to use in any meeting, with a caveat that you have to shut down your Zoom and reopen it again for it to be in there. So I've added a question. I now need to shut down Zoom again and go back in. It is really the most unnecessarily complex process doing polls. But once you've done it, once you've added one, it is there forever until you delete it, and it's always there. So I'm now going to show you what polling is like. I'm going to launch a poll. It's one I was using in the virtual training last week. This is one I've already created. Launch polling. And it should now have popped up on your screens. What is your single key objective with a virtual training course? Don't worry about the answers because it's not particularly our topic for today, but have a go at voting.
I can't see that, Neil.
It's not appeared, Neil.
No, not on screen.
We're still on settings.
We're still looking at your screen that you had before, your browser.
Okay. So let me try maybe sharing back to the PowerPoint.
Neil, while you're doing that, quick question. Does it only save it to your own private meeting room? Is that where it saves it?
Yes.
Pass.
There's a setting, actually. There's a setting where you can choose where to save it.
Okay, thank you.
Right, that's it now.
There you go. So
Yeah.
I think the polling doesn't seem to work if I'm sharing my screen. Now you should see it and you should be able to vote. There you go. And as you're voting, I'm seeing these results changing live. I can see there's 2 people on the first one, 8 on the third one, 0 on the second one, 2 on the fourth one. That's all changing. I can see 16 of the 30 of you, 53% have voted, 19, 20. I can see we're 30 seconds in. So I can now choose to end this whenever I want. I'm going to end it now. We've got 63% of you voted. I can now see the results. You can't. But there's a button in front of me which I press says share results, and now you can see the results as well. I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I'm done with that, there's a stop sharing results button, and I can close the window, and it's there. So polling, as I said, a little fiddly to set up, but I think it's a really useful thing. And then you have to close it. So I've got a spare PC in front of me as well, just to see what I'm doing. It's a really useful one for creating interaction. We've been doing things with our reception class, my daughter's school, probably a bit young for polling, but if you've got, now there are a few people from my daughter's school on today. If you've got kids in, I don't know, year 7, year 8, year 9, something like that, and you're doing some sort of a quiz, then polling is a great thing to keep the kids interacting with it during the holidays as well. Just a bit fiddly to set up. And remember, when you've created that question, go back out, come back in, close Zoom down, come back in, and then you'll find the questions in there to launch. It just, to me, it feels unnecessarily complex, but it works and it's a useful system.
Neil, can you just say where the launch button is, or show where the launch button is? And if you have a number of polls, can you just ping that back on your screen, or is it too late now?
So if you look at the bottom, again, this is a PowerPoint slide because I can't show you live all my buttons. But down at the bottom here, you can see I've got, this is a slightly more complex toolbar than you've got.
That's great.
I'm the host.
Thank you.
You've got polls there. That only shows if you've enabled it. When you launch it, there will be no polls in there, but there will be an edit button. That edit button will take you to the web browser when you can then go and do it. And again, you can't see what I click, unfortunately, but if I were to click the polls button now, it brings up a list of the different polls I have, and I can choose to launch one.
I was going to ask you that.
It's pretty
Neil.
self-explanatory once you get it set up.
Neil, I was going to ask you that. You mentioned using the meeting setting for a webinar.
Yeah.
Hence, if you're setting that up, then you pre-set up your polls that you want to use.
Yeah, really good point, Stephen. So I came across this about 3 weeks ago. So basically what I did, the first time I wanted to use polls, half an hour before the meeting, I went in, I set up I started a meeting. You can only do it when you're live on the meeting unless you go in through your web browser. Yeah. I set up a meeting, I created the polls, then I ended the meeting, and then they were there for the
That's what I was just thinking. So if you're setting up a webinar, and I'm just thinking of one or two things that are coming up that you could actually think, right, I'm going to be doing rooms, which we're going to talk about. I want to use a poll here. If I set it up, then yes, if you want to do it off the cuff, it becomes a bit harder.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it off the cuff.
No, I'm thinking that myself. But no, that's fine.
Yeah, so I went in half an hour early and set it up before. So let's talk about sharing whiteboard. I'm going to show you quickly this, then I'm going to send you off into breakout rooms and give you a chance to play on this yourselves, because each breakout room, we'll look at those after, each breakout room is like a little mini meeting. So one of you can be the host, or you can take it in turns to be the host, to share a whiteboard, to try annotating it, and so on. How does it work? Back on that toolbar button, again at the bottom there's a green one that says share, and you'll see this when you're in the breakout rooms as well on yours. If you press share, it brings up a window that looks like this, and I assume you can see this.
Yep.
Yeah, brings up a window that looks like this. You can choose to share your screen, you can share a whiteboard, you can share your slides, you can share your web browser, you can share any window that you happen to have open at the time. The one to do is whiteboard. Having said that, you can also share PowerPoint, and you can use a PowerPoint slide exactly like a whiteboard, get people to annotate on the slide for you if you want to, which is quite a nice feature. But if you press whiteboard, then it takes you, it brings up, this is a whiteboard that you can now see, and you get at the top an annotation bar where you've got things like text, draw, stamps are quite fun to play with. My daughter likes putting love hearts all over the page. You can then go and do whatever you want on the whiteboard. The key thing with a whiteboard is, and you need to tell your participants this as well if they're using them, is that if they're in a breakout room using a whiteboard, they need to remember to save it. Because if they don't, it gets lost. So the save button, and you'll see this on yours when you get in there, when you share one, the save button is on the right-hand side of your annotation bar. When you press it, it puts it into a folder on your PC in your documents under Zoom. But for about 2 or 3 seconds after you press save, this green box pops up. It says whiteboard saved, and where it says show in folder, that's a hyperlink. If you press that quickly before it disappears, it will open the folder for you on your PC where those whiteboards are saved. Otherwise, you might be hunting around a bit trying to find it. If you've sent people to breakout rooms, they're doing work together, they're playing on a whiteboard. If they forget to press save when the rooms close, they won't, as far as I know, be able to access that whiteboard again. So we need to remind them to press save before they leave a breakout room. So I'm going to put you off now into break. I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing this because we'll do that as the next topic. But I'm going to put you into breakout rooms now of 3-ish people. If I can find my settings. Ah, there they are. There. So, sending you off into breakout rooms. Something will pop up on your screen, and it will say you've been invited to join a breakout room. So do press OK. When you get in there, you'll be in with other people. I'm just doing this randomly. I have no idea who's going to be in with whom. But I'm going to give you about 7 or 8 minutes in these rooms to have a go at playing with the whiteboards. So one of you needs to volunteer to create the first one. Once you create it, you are the owner of that whiteboard, and you will have many more settings available to you than the others. You can then do the saving, you can go and delete your things, you can delete other people's things, but not yours, and so on. The others will be participants, they'll have a reduced set of settings. When you've had a play, stop sharing yours, let someone else share theirs, and then they will be the host and they will be the owner and they will see more. So I'm going to send you off into rooms of 3 or 4. I'm going to circulate and drop in and see how you're getting on, but I will call you back in about 8 minutes.
Okay.
Off you go. Now, I can see, and I will tell you that this happens from time to time, I can see a few people still here. Colette and David, are you still here, or have you joined a breakout room and it's not showing? Colette's gone, David's still here. I'm guessing you've joined and it's just showing on my screen anyway.
The whiteboard.
No, we're seeing Michelle's screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I shared it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you've got to draw
I know what to do.
Hello, Breakout Room 1, how are you doing?
So I've just shared the whiteboard, Neil. So then do I start writing something on it? Or
So you can write on it, but also other people, what you should see is, it's called View Tools or View Options at the top. And if you hover over that, it brings up the annotation button. If you press Annotate, you can then, should be able to go and annotate on the board as well.
Okay.
So if I do it, for example, View Options, there you go, I've got my Annotate now. I can do, what if I want, really? Circles. There is a setting, we'll talk about this in a sec when we get on to how breakout rooms work, but you can also have a setting so that you can see who is typing what, which is quite helpful. The arrow, so you can see the arrow there. Sorry, who's shared this? Just remind me.
I have. Michelle has. Okay.
Michelle.
Yeah.
So Michelle, if you have a look now, I'm using the arrow setting. You should be able to see my name in there. I don't. Can everyone else see my name as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you want people perhaps in your group to indicate something on your whiteboard and want to know who has done what, the arrows only work once.
Oh, okay.
Once you click somewhere else, the previous one disappears, but it puts the name.
Where's the arrow? Sorry. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says for me. Yeah. Okay.
And Michelle, if you press clear, you should have a number of options there saying clear everything, clear only the users, clear only my own. So it means that no one can ruin your whiteboard.
So I'm the only person to do that.
And then don't forget when you're done, press save and then
I've cleared
in folder. I'm going to go and dip into the other rooms. So I'll leave it play for a few more minutes.
Does everyone want to have a go at
practice saving?
Yes, I've saved that.
Excellent.
Oh, that's clever. Who's done the cat? You've got very good control of the mouse. There's no way I could do that.
I think Cat has good control of the mouse.
Very good.
Who's bottom right? Who's the pink blob?
I don't know how many of you were on my training course last week. I know a couple of you were. Here's a tool which I love. It's called a pen mouse, and it's basically a normal mouse, but it's shaped like a pen. So that's the left button, that's the scroll wheel, that's the right button. But if you want to really get clever with the whiteboards, it's much easier to write with one of these than with one of these.
After your course, Neil, we have a complete shopping list.
Have you had a play with the arrow? Does anyone use the arrow annotate?
Is that on the stump? No, arrow.
No,
Where's
it's
the
on the stump. It's quite nice if you want to get people to indicate things, because it only shows one arrow. Once I click someone else, disappears, but it puts my name in there.
Yeah.
As well.
Where's the arrow again? Is it in the stump?
It's just to the right of stump.
Oh, this.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Come out. It's a flip across.
So I'm going to go and dip into the other groups as well. Do have a go, all of you, at using a whiteboard if you want to rotate it, or just have a play on one. I will. I'll be calling you back in about 3 or 4 minutes, I guess.
Okay, I'll save this then, guys, and someone else can do it.
Yeah. Okay. So the arrow stay.
Sound kept changing, and we kept losing people. Hi, Neil.
Room 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been good.
How are you doing? Who's shared a whiteboard?
Me. And me. Yeah.
Okay. Did you find the arrow button about halfway along?
Yeah. Matt was showing us where to find things.
Okay. The arrow one's quite nice because it puts names in there as well. So you can get people to indicate on one of your slides, and you can see Neil Shawnee in that arrow. You can see who is doing what.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Neil, Matt was saying that there is an option for you to be able to see not just the arrows of who's writing, but everything that they write. Is it possible you can let us know where those settings are?
There is, isn't there? Someone mentioned that to me the other day, and I found it. Let me. I don't know whose whiteboard this is. If you could stop sharing your screen, let me share.
Oh, I think it's me. Hang on. Sorry. Yes.
Share my own, and then I'll find the setting for you. So if I share a whiteboard, where is it? So if I share a whiteboard, and again, you can't see this, unfortunately, but when you then, on the right-hand side of your main toolbar, there's the 3 dots where it shows.
Yeah.
If you hover over that and scroll down, it says halfway down, show names of annotators. So if one of you now tries typing on my whiteboard.
Where is it saying that?
Well, it won't show it for you because it's my whiteboard. There you go. So Tracy Phillips has just done something, and it says Tracy Phillips next to your name.
Okay.
So if I stop share, I'll leave you to have another play with that. I'm going to call you back in about 2 minutes. Going to dive into which room are you? You're in 3.
We made that point to Giles.
Hello, room 4. How are you doing with your whiteboards?
Oh, fine. Sorry, we ended up having conversations about coronavirus.
We had a play.
Yeah.
Now, someone emailed me earlier. Was that you, wasn't it, Rupert, about the virus?
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Up and down, but not so good today.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You look okay.
Yeah, I'm I've just been a bit out of it today. That's all.
Yeah.
And my throat's a bit scratchy, and I'll be all right.
Okay. So I'm going to call everyone back in about a minute, and I'll see you back in the main room.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we'll just give people a little while to get back. It gives a 1-minute timer on the breakout rooms. You can set that as long as you want, but I have mine as a minute for training purposes, so they've got a little bit longer before they come back. Here they all come. Some stubborn people, we need to sort of drag them back in, kicking and screaming in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. So, oh, I've got new people in the waiting room. Okay, admittal. 2 people just joined. Joanna, welcome. David, welcome back. I guess you got kicked out. So, welcome back in. So, you've all had a play with the whiteboards. Something that one group asked me, which I mentioned, let me tell you all. You can see who has typed what. It's in the settings for the whiteboard owner only, but you know you've got your sort of your Zoom bar with all those buttons like participants and polls and that kind of thing that I showed you. If you own the whiteboard, if you've started the whiteboard, on the right-hand side of your bar, there's 3 dots saying more, and about halfway down the list of what then pops up says show names of annotators. If you click that while you're on the whiteboard, you can see who has written what. And hopefully you've all had a play with saving, with sharing, with annotating the different tools, perhaps with clearing, where you can clear some people's stuff but not your own if you're the owner. And for all these things, the owner of the whiteboard has a lot more things they can do than the other people.
Neil, our group, we couldn't find out how once you saved something, how you can then share it with the group.
Yeah, it's really fiddly, Christine. So are you using a PC?
Yes.
So you press save, and then the little box pops up underneath saying view in folder.
Yes.
If you press that, it brings the folder up onto your screen. You then need to open that whiteboard in just an image viewer, and then share that window by doing a normal sort of screen share.
Also, you can't like send it within the chat or something like that.
There are a couple of things in Zoom which are not that easy. Polls is one and whiteboards are the other. They're very effective, but they're just a little bit fiddly.
Just a point, Neil, the breakout room didn't work for me. It locked immediately. I clicked join and didn't come back until you just ended it.
I noticed that happened to me one day last week with somebody as well.
Yeah, not a problem because I've used whiteboards.
If it happens from time to time,
yeah.
If you've got a big group, someone doesn't get into the breakout rooms, what you need to do, which I didn't do today, but what you need to do is just close the breakout rooms and recreate them, and then usually...
I tried that, but I exited and rejoined the meeting, but nothing happened.
Oh, really? That will be a technical glitch.
Yeah.
But not with
No
you,
problem.
I think with Zoom itself. That happened to me one day last week with someone. Okay, so let's move on. We've done...
Sorry, before you move on.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on annotation and controlling. Last week, I'm sure, and maybe I've got it wrong, is that when you create the whiteboard, you have to invite people to annotate. Is that right? Or is it immediately available to everybody?
That is not right, no. So let me make a new one now. What you need to do is, at the top of your screen, because I've got a participant one set up here, there's a grey button with an arrow down saying View Options.
Yep.
You click on that, then you have to bring up your own Annotate toolbar.
Right, so the host creates it, the person creates the whiteboard, and then says to the people, you can annotate. What I'd like you to do is go to the top, click on Annotate, and give me your thoughts.
Correct. Yeah, so
And
you
then
don't need to invite them, but you might need to tell people where to find it. And someone can confirm this, I guess, on the call now. It's not the same on other things. I imagine if you're doing this on an iPad, it's very different to find. Can anyone tell us on an iPad or a phone where you found that? The annotation?
Well, I'm on a Mac, and it's at the top, and it was fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, I've never joined to take part on a phone or anything, only as the host.
Yeah.
Neil, can I ask a question? On the recording, is it actually recording all the breakout rooms or none of them, or just you?
Another slight drawback of Zoom, Sam, it is not recording all the breakout rooms. It's recording wherever I go. So during that last exercise, I made it into 4 breakout rooms. I didn't make it around everyone. It will record the bit I was in each of you with you.
Right.
Having said that, I can allow you to record it. So when I create like breakout, in fact, let's do it now because that's our next topic. Let's cover that as we look at breakout rooms now, because you can do it, but it's in the settings. You need to do something. So let me share my PowerPoint with you again. So we're on to, I think our last topic, I might be wrong. Creating and managing breakout rooms. Again, I've got a number of screenshots for you here to show you how this works. That's me. The first thing I need to do is to click on the breakout rooms button. And again, you won't have this because you're a participant, but if you're running the meeting, it's just down here where you can see my mouse on the right-hand side. If you click breakout rooms, it brings up a little box like this. And again, I can't do it live because this is just a screenshot. It won't show what I'm actually doing. And at the time I did the screenshot, there were no participants. It was just me in the meeting. But let's say there are 9 participants. It will give you assign 9 participants into, and then you can do the up and down there to choose how many rooms. And so for today we've got 30 or something. It says 30 participants into one room, and at the bottom there it says 30 participants per room. If I increase this up to 2, 3, 4, it shows me how many participants will be in each room. It changes as I adjust the number of rooms. I can choose to do automatic breakout rooms, which just sends people off randomly, or manual breakout rooms. I can choose who goes into which one. I've only ever used the manual one once in the couple of weeks I've been using it. It's a bit more administration because then you get the list of all the participants and you have to choose. John goes into room 1, Sarah goes into room 2, Christine goes into room 3, and so on. So if you want to do that in your Zoom sessions, just be aware it will take you a bit of time live on the call to set that up. Automatically is really easy. It's just 2 clicks. And then you press create rooms. Now, before I open the rooms to you, there's an options button which comes up there for me. And here I can set the settings of those breakout rooms. I can get people to move automatically. So that means once I open the rooms, you are immediately put there. Or I can, if I untick that, you have the box that you saw on your screen where you have to manually join it. I can allow you to return to the main session anytime or not. I can set a time after which the breakout rooms will automatically close if I want to. And I can set a countdown, as you saw today, a countdown of 60 seconds until the breakout rooms close. And again, you can change that countdown timer or you can disable it completely. Personally, I think 60 seconds is a good amount of time to allow because you need time to save your whiteboards if you're using them. If I don't give you a countdown, I drag you back in straight away, you lose everything you've done. So I think 60 seconds is a nice one to do for that.
Neil, can I just ask a question, a comment and a question on that? What happens when you return to the screen, to the main room, while everybody's still in the breakout? Is it just...
I see an empty meeting.
Empty meeting. Okay. And then separately, I think I've ticked all the possible options to set up breakout rooms, and yet when I'm in my meeting, that icon does not come up on the bottom. Is there anything obvious that I might not be doing?
Do you mean the options icon there?
No, at the very bottom where it says breakout rooms, right next to share screen and chat and everything else, that little breakout rooms icon does not. So I don't have an option to open it up, despite the fact it might be a Zoom glitch. I was just wondering if there's anything obvious that I should do to get that option.
They should be enabled by default. It could be under the More button there. Remember, you won't see it now because you are a participant.
No, yes. I kind of assumed when I'm running my own meetings with 2 people, it does not offer you that option because there's only 2 of you. But what you just showed is that option is always there, even if it's just you on screen.
Is it a free versus paid for issue? Can you not do it on?
I pay.
Okay, fine.
Are you on a PC?
Yes. And don't worry, if it's a one-off, I need to, I'll look into it. It's just, I thought maybe it's not showing up because it's no more than 2 people and there's no point in having a breakout room with 2 people, but you just showed us having to set it up when it was just you.
Yeah, it's always there, yeah. Just see whether it's under the little More. I've just done a screenshot of my screen, what I can see. Let me just share that screenshot with you. Oh no, that's actually my PowerPoint I'm changing there. Here's what I can see on my screen. Let me reshare that now. So there you go. Oh, no, that's not. Hang on. Screen sharing has stopped. Helpful. There you go, Rena. So this is what I could see. So the breakout rooms is not on my toolbar. Can you see my? But when I hover my mouse over that more button there, it's then in this list.
Okay, I'll have a look.
So have a look there. It depends on your screen resolution and how big you've got things set up and so on. Have a look in that one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so let me go back to PowerPoint. I've got so many shared Windows images of me open. I'm not sure what's real and what's not anymore. Must be Friday. So there's your settings. And as I said, 60 seconds is a nice countdown time because it gives people time to share their whiteboards if they need to. Once I've set those settings up, and this was when a couple of you joined early, which was really helpful, thank you. It then shows me all the breakout rooms and who is assigned to each one, and this was done automatically. I can then press the Open All Rooms button, and that's when you're then invited to join. And I can also then see when people join. When Claire, Robert, or Claire joined those meeting rooms, these little white circles changed to green ones to show me that you were in there. These join buttons here on each one, that is for me to go and dip in and out of the rooms and see how you're getting on. So when I press the join button, there you go, there's Claire had joined, Robert hadn't, Claire had. And then when I press the join button, this pops up and I can then choose to join into the meeting room and to the breakout room, and that's when I can go in and join your little meetings. So again, I can't show you it live because of the way Zoom works, but that's what I see from my point of view. I've had a chat come through from Sam. Yeah, no problem at all. Sam has to nip off. So anyone needs to leave on the hour, obviously feel free. No offense taken, but I'm going to finish off. We've got a couple more slides to go. I would like to go and send you off to the breakout rooms one more time, just so that you can go and see one more time what it's like to be a part of it. So I'm setting up a breakout rooms now. I'm recreating all the breakout rooms into bigger rooms. Just going to send you off so that you can see. I'm going to try and dip into each room now so that you can see what it's like.
I've got to head off now, but thanks very much. It's been so useful.
No problem. Thanks, Claire.
Bye.
There you go. So if you jump in, I'll show you what it's like from your point of view when I dip in and out of the rooms.
Same here. Thanks, Neil. Bye.
Neil's joined us.
Hello. So I didn't remind everyone last time, but just to show you. So when you're in the breakout room, I can come through as the presenter and see how you're getting on. In terms of running a training course or something, it's a little bit like walking around the training room and doing work with small groups of people. Can help you to get more relationships going if you've got big groups who perhaps are otherwise just sat there doing this at the screen. You know, people have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Neil, could I ask a question? If you create a breakout room, an automatic breakout room, and then you come out of it and you want to create another one later, if you want to keep the same groups of people throughout the meeting, so they return to the same small group discussion, would you have to set the names manually? Or if you kept the same number parameters, would it create the same people every time?
Let me see. So just here, so you've got two options. You can create the manual rooms where you can choose who goes into each one, Chris.
Yeah.
Even if you go with the random ones, on this, you can see my screen, yeah? My PowerPoint. You can see you've got the options button up. Just to the left, there's one that says recreate.
Okay.
If I click that, it will set them all up as new ones. If I don't click that and I just press open all rooms, it will use the same configuration as the previous.
Okay. Thank you.
Even if it's done randomly. So can I call you back in about a minute? I'm jumping very quickly into each one so that everyone sees what that is like. Room 2.
Hi.
Last time as well.
We actually have a question for you.
I can come in, I can see how you're getting on. If you need some help when I'm not in your room, if you look at your screens, there should be a help button somewhere.
Yeah, bottom right.
Bottom right. That will send me a message wherever I am, even if I'm in someone else's room. And it will come up on my screen saying,
Okay.
help.
Sorry, Neil, where is the help button?
On my screen, it's bottom right.
Is it the little lozenge, the blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so I don't have the help button.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask for help.
Laptop joined in here as a participant.
Yeah.
Yes, we saw that. Yes.
That's real chaos. Just there, it says ask for help.
Yes, we found it. But Neil, we have a question for you actually.
Couple of questions. Hi. Hi. If we force the delegates to register, would there be a report at the end of the report to say that we can print off to say these people registered for this meeting?
Short answer, yes. I'm gonna drag us all back together, and then because that would be a useful question for everybody. So if you just hold that, I'm going to bring everyone back together, and then we'll take that as a question for everyone.
The other one is
It doesn't. Mine doesn't. It has photos, but it doesn't
Possibly
have
because
video.
you've got a rather busy background behind you.
No, I mean just in general. So are you able to upload a little moving picture is what you did?
No, this is an option on Zoom, but I've got a plain wall behind me.
I don't have that option, I think.
No, I mean looking at all four.
No, I don't.
I don't have
You've
that
all got
You can
It's
select
like-
any. They have a stock one, presumably like Robert's, but again, you can create your own, take them from pictures.
I don't even have the stock one. I just have.
If you go into settings,
yeah.
main settings, and try it from there, which is where I work from. So when you're
Which
in Zoom,
settings?
the main. If you go to the main screen when you're logging in, there'll be a
Yeah.
setting.
Right. Okay.
Go
Okay.
into there.
Right.
That's where you'll see whether select, which is probably like Roberts, or you can choose your own.
I would imagine
It's also next
you
to
can
the
do your
video
own.
button.
Yeah.
If you
bit like
press
my
the
garden,
little
yeah.
arrow next to video,
It may be a Mac thing as well.
Background.
I can't hear you, Neil.
You're unmuted.
Sorry, let's try again.
Yeah, you muted everybody and yourself.
Muted everyone, including myself. So you've now seen what it's like when the trainer goes around and dips into the rooms to see how you're getting on. There were a couple of questions in group 2. Elahi, I've just unmuted you. Can you share the questions with everyone? Because I think they're useful for other people too. Remind me what the first one was.
Yeah, the question was that is there any way in Zoom that we could, a report that we can print out, which registers the participant's name and how long they were, on the platform and attended the training session? Because that's very important for us.
Yes, there is. So if you enable force people to register when they join, then you can go into settings afterwards and get a report of who they were, what time they joined, and so on. That's definitely in there. Yeah.
Okay.
I've
So
never used it, but I have.
We
seen
need to make sure that they register beforehand, and then Zoom will print out the registered names.
Yeah, you can force people to register beforehand in the settings. You can require registration, otherwise they won't be let in.
Okay, great.
And it's in account settings. If you go into account settings or account management, one of the subtopics is reports.
Oh, lovely. Okay. Thank you, Rina.
And did you have a second question as well, Elahi?
Yes, my husband did actually.
I was wondering, I think in one of the training sessions that you had, you mentioned that there is some way of detecting somebody is looking at another window rather than the Zoom window that we are doing the presentation.
There is. And again, that's in the settings on the website. It doesn't work all the time. It only works when you're sharing your screen. So when we're on at the moment, I'm not sharing, as far as I know, I'm not sharing. We're just on the video. It doesn't work then. But when I'm actually sharing my screen, it can show whether people are engaged or not. Again, I've seen it in the settings. I've never used it myself yet. So I don't know what it looks from my side, but it is definitely in there. Yeah.
Great,
Perfect.
thank you very much. That's
Perfect.
great. Thank you.
No problem at all. So let's just jump back to PowerPoint to finish off. So what have we looked at today? We've done all that. So just a review of all the key things. We've looked at how to schedule a meeting. We've looked at how to enable polling in the settings, then create a poll. We discussed the fact that you need to keep editing, exiting and going back into Zoom for that polling to work as you would like it to, but just if you give yourself half an hour before your meeting, then you'll be ready for that. We've looked at how to share a whiteboard. We've remembered that we have to press save, and helpful if we then press the view in folder so that we can see where the whiteboard's gone to. We've looked at annotating slides. I mentioned that setting where you can see who has annotated what. We've looked at sharing the screen. Well, sharing the screen, I've been doing it all the way through. You can annotate a shared screen exactly the same as you can annotate a slide. So if someone wants to go to view options at the top now and try typing on my PowerPoint here.
Can you turn that setting off?
Yes, in the settings, you can stop people annotating at all. There you go. So, but it's quite nice to have the annotating your slides if you want to, because you might have a list of bullet points. You might say, put a heart next to the one that's most important for you. Put a red cross next to the other. But again, in the web settings, you can set almost anything.
Is it possible to turn it off and on, like when you want to?
I think so. I'm 90% sure that it's in the actual web. Yeah, no, it's a setting. It's a global setting, so it's either on or off. You'd need to do that per meeting. And my guess is, if you change it, you'd have to exit and go back into Zoom, although I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
We've looked at sharing screen. We've looked at creating and managing breakout rooms. So tell me, how are you feeling about Zoom? Who's comfortable about having a go at this?
Well, some of my earlier fears, Neil, I think have been very much dealt with, particularly the being able to talk with people, the interaction and so on. Very much a concern, which I think you've dealt with very nicely. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone have any other questions? Christine, I've seen your hand go up.
Yeah, I was just saying in my breakout room that I'm with a small group of co-trainers, and we've just started a little session where we're each going to have a little go doing our own kind of material, but actually having a practice on Zoom in a safe environment. So we'll do a little maybe 20-minute teach to our own target audience, and then we'll take the 40 minutes afterwards to give each other feedback. And one person's already done it. I'm doing it on Monday, and I think that'll be an enormously useful to have a practice safely.
So I have a group on LinkedIn called Knowledge Bites Continuous Learning. I'll send you all an invite to it. But in there, I've created a post which says, if you want to share your details with others to set up some practice sessions, do. And there's about 12 people in there now, I think, and I guess perhaps that's where you saw it, Christine, was it?
Well, we were doing it separately.
Oh, okay. But I'll send you all an invite to the group. Yeah. And if you want to do that and set up some practice sessions with other trainers or other meeting hosts, people have just been putting their email address on there and getting in touch with each other. But yeah, why not try it in a safe environment? There's a few things I'll send you after this. I'll send you a cheat sheet. I'll send you a link to that group.
Brilliant.
This has been fantastic. Thank you, Neil.
Can I ask you
just one question, Neil, is can you co-host?
Yes. Was that Stephen?
Yep. You can co-host.
Hang on a sec. Where are you? Stephen.
I'm here. I'm above it. Yeah.
You are now the host of my meeting.
Can you not do it at the same time?
Well, I still see a more comprehensive set of controls than I would as a participant.
Yes. So I'm just wondering whether if you were working paired, and we're thinking of that with a colleague of mine, so things like you could be doing the room as you would if you had two trainers in the room. One person could be leading and the other one could be sorting out the breakout rooms.
Yeah, so I do this with people from time to time. It's one of the services we have at Knowledge Bites. So if, for example, you were running a training session or a meeting and you wanted admin support, you would create the meeting.
Yeah.
You'd invite everyone and I would join as a participant. You would then give me the host role.
Yeah.
So like I've just given it to you, which then gives me all the control over breakout rooms, that sort of thing. So I can be setting breakout rooms while you're talking. But as the host, there's a button, although I've given it to you now. If I press this button, it now reclaims that host role for me.
Right.
So I don't ever lose control.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So it's just working it through as to how you'd work it if you're working with somebody else, the sort of things. But no, and the other thing is that's brilliant. It's really quite useful.
Yeah, it's a really great system. I know it's not perfect.
One thing, will you send us a link to the recording of this?
I will, yep. So I will get some things over to you later.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a favour? If you find this helpful, I'd love to get a little post on LinkedIn, tag me, say it was useful. When you run your first one, if you run some training sessions or something and you want a bit of coverage, stick a LinkedIn post and let me know you've done it, and I will then go and share that on for you, trainers on here, if you'd like that to give you a bit of coverage too.
Neil, is there any chance for one final question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about this. It's kind of related to what Stephen was talking about. I do quite a bit of training for foreign language groups, so we'll end up needing to bring in translators, and maybe if there's a possibility of when you visit breakout rooms to take the translator with you. I don't know, have you any thoughts about how best to configure Zoom? You have to have a translator present.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Sorry.
Because I do foreign language training, but I do it in French and I speak French. What I'll often do is I'll do the training in English because it's a mixed group, but then I'll do like an English breakout group and a French breakout group. Could I take someone with hang on, because I'm logged in as a participant here as well. So no need to join these breakout rooms, but you can if you want. I'm just going to create them and see what happens. I join breakout room 2 down there. Yes, so let me share with you a screenshot. Print screen. Let me close the breakout rooms now. And close that. It's so annoying that you can't see my Zoom controls. You can see everything except the Zoom controls if I share my screen. So if I now share this window with you, this is what I just saw. I created these breakout rooms and I put Noriko Shawnee, which is my wife on her PC, into it. But you can see just to the right there is a move to button.
Yeah.
So I can send her to a different room. So let's say I'm in room 2 with Noriko as my translator, perhaps. If I want to join room 1, I will go and join it, and I will manually send her to it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is possible. It's not like a one-click would be nice, or it'd be nice if your translator could follow you. But certainly you can send that person there, and then you can send someone from one room to another.
Okay.
Good.
I'm also joining the camp of one last question. And it was really interesting because you were talking about how you've used it for your little one's reception class.
Yeah.
I would quite like to, I do rainbows and rangers, which are either end of girl guiding. And I have been pushing to take my kids virtual, and just for my own sanity. And I've had pushback from my other leader about the security within Zoom. Now we know they've had some blips.
Yeah, I've seen it on the news.
Yeah, they weren't expecting 1 million people to join them, or whatever the number now is. But has anyone else had that, or because it's the only place I've had pushback from, and I'm just really frustrated.
So I can tell you what the security issues have been. There was one where they may have accidentally shared some information with Facebook, which is never a clever thing to do. Is it?
No, never do that.
The other one was that there's something which has taken off at the moment because everyone uses Zoom bombing, where people go and they get your address somewhere, maybe you put it on Facebook in a group and they see it, and they go and join sessions and go and be disruptive. You can get around that by requiring a password.
Yeah.
Or by using the waiting room feature. So that with the waiting room, you choose who gets let in.
Yeah, love it.
We've never had any problems.
Yeah.
Probably 8 or 10 of them now, various.
Yeah. I think it's just my other leader is of a very older generation. And to be fair, my Rainbow and Rangers units wouldn't run if it wasn't for her, because I'm not home often enough to do them. But now I'm like, well, I'm at home. Let me take some of the weight off. It's like, oh no, we can't use technology. I'll just send them a message out. So that's good to know that we can overcome some of those issues.
I mean, it might be worth putting some rules in place. You can prevent recording. So obviously don't record. Oh, someone asked me about recording in breakout rooms. I didn't answer, did I? Someone asked about, can you record the breakout rooms? I don't know if it's someone maybe who's already left. You can't record the breakout rooms. The recording follows you around. But when you put people into the rooms, you can select one person in each room and you can give that person permission to record. And you do it live in the system. It's not in the settings, it's live as you create the room. The only thing is, you need to tell that person to record it. Otherwise they won't know and it won't get recorded. And that recording will get saved onto their local PC. But they could then send it through to you or something. It's a workaround, it's not ideal. Any other questions?
If somebody really doesn't want to have their face shown at all, if they don't feel comfortable with that, is there a way that they can do that other than just not turning on their video?
Just stop. So I've just turned off my video. You can still hear me, or I assume you can still hear me. And you do have my face because that's the photo I have on there. But yeah, you can just get people to turn off the video. They do it themselves, and then they've got complete control over that.
Okay. All right.
If you've got your pajamas on or something and you don't want anyone to know. A beer in your hand at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. All those reasons you might not want to be seen. But yeah, it's completely within participants' control.
Okay.
Have you ever led one with a mobile phone? And if so, what are the difference in functionality?
I can't tell you that. I've hosted one on my mobile, but it's just been a one-to-one call, so it doesn't really count. I've never joined one on a mobile. But hey, if you join the group and get involved in a practice session, try it out and see what happens. I cannot tell you anything, I'm afraid, about what it's like to join on a phone.
Any one of the participants?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to email you all these details after, and you will know who you are. If you've joined today without giving me your email address and you want these things, please send me an email, otherwise you won't get it. I'm putting my email in the chat now, knowledgebytes.co.uk. Can't type. If you don't think I've got your email details and you want me to send you these things through, send me an email there. I've just put it in the chat. That's my address. I haven't yet put the cheat sheet together. I thought I'd do it after today so I can think about what to put in it. So it may be Monday till I get anything to
you. No rush.
I will send you a cheat sheet, a link to the recording, except the first 5 minutes where I forgot to press record, and a link to the group if you want to get involved with each other. I'm not involved, but if you want to get together with people for a practice,
that's great.
I'll send you that as well. Other than that, thank you very much for taking part. Glad
thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you.
And I'll get this over to you either later today or Monday morning.
Yeah.
Have
a good weekend.
Soon, Neil. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.